If the last few years have taught us anything about ministry, if it's taught us anything about, how we do life, is that our world has changed. And ministry specifically is not regulated or confined only to the four walls of the church. I remember way back when, and I'm saying way back now because it doesn't feel like it's been a long time, but it's been some years when the pandemic hit. And it forced me and so many others to start rethinking what youth ministry actually looked like. And that's where this idea hit me, something that I call the spheres of influence. Now, this is the 5 M's of ministry. This is where we talk about these 5 areas that impact all of our youth ministries. And today we're talking about the mission territory.
This is what Catholic youth ministry looks like.
Exploring the 5 M's of ministry.
With Brother Morel, also known as a symbol.
Mark 16:15 says, "Go into the world and preach the gospel to all creation." Matthew 28:19 says, "Go and make disciples of all nations." So all nations, all creation, all people. 2 Corinthians 5:20, "We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us." Now, if we're preaching to all nations, if we're preaching, to all creation, we're preaching all, and we're getting this message out to everybody, then how can we stay just in the walls of our church? Some statistics that talk about church engagement and digital influence. There's one thing that was done by the Pew Research Center that says before the pandemic, only 20% of Catholic youth were actively engaged in their faith. Springtide Research Institute said that post-pandemic, 50% of young people said their faith grew through digital engagement. So something is happening online that is making people start question faith more. And over 70% of Gen Z spends more than 4 hours a day on social media. This was a study done by Common Sense Media. So here's my theory, here's my idea. Youth ministry isn't just about who shows up to your youth night. It's not just about who's in your catechetical program. It's about who we reach in the spaces that they're already in. Let's talk about a little bit and identify what I call the spheres of influence. So shouts out to Gilbert, because back when COVID hit, I remember everybody was thinking what are we going to do? Now, I was at a point in my life, if you follow my journey and my story, I had started, doing music, and then I was going out and sharing music. And then from music, it grew to sharing messages in different retreats and different conferences and different spaces, different youth groups all over. And then God tugged on my heart and said, "Hey, I need you to get involved in local ministry." And I remember when I got involved, I got to this point where it was okay, God, I'm going to let go of all the online stuff and I'm going to focus just on the local ministry. And what's funny about that, tell God your plans and listen to him laugh, because right when I had made that decision in my mind, I'm not going to do anything online, boom, March of 2020 hit. And I remember speaking to Gilbert, shouts out to Gilbert, because we were having this conversation yo, how are we going to keep doing ministry? How are we going to connect? How are we going to secure our jobs, right? Because this is how we provide for our families. And I remember I was one of these immediately, everybody was how do we go online? How do we live stream? The parish I was at, when I was at St. Michael, St. Malachi, we went online immediately. Shutdown happened on Friday. Sunday, we already had live streams of our masses, right? I was doing lives on Instagram every day. I had, faith and fitness, where I was doing workout routines and praying with people. I had a Bible study that we were doing, or a Bible sharing group that we were doing on Zoom. We had collaborated. I connected with different youth ministers all throughout Brooklyn and Queens, and we did this thing called the BQ Breakthrough. And I had people start submitting little clips hey, here's an online thing. I got asked to be this part of this team that would do these Zoom retreats. And what we thought at first would be just a few 8th grade graduation things. Then it grew to a few confirmation things. Next thing you know, hundreds of retreats. I was doing retreats online for people in California and in the Midwest and down south and all over the place. And there was this moment that hit me. Because doing youth ministry all these years, and I don't know if you guys have ever been there, they ask what is it that you do? Or what does that look like? And some people are okay, you're a teacher. Well, I think there's an aspect of what we do that's teaching. They're like, oh, like you create youth programs. Yeah, we do create programs. You play games. Yeah, we do play games. Oh, you connect with families. Yeah, we do some of that. But we always like struggling like, okay, youth ministry is a lot of these things, right? It's you need to know event planning, you need to know speaking, you need to know all these aspects. In some ways, like you're not a licensed therapist, but you're there to be an ear for people to counsel them and walk with them in many ways. And this light bulb hit me in this time during COVID where I was like, hold up, while I'm online, I'm literally an influencer. In the same way everybody, is thinking about, okay, I'm an influencer of this product. I'm an influencer of this technology. I'm an influencer and I get people to buy these things. Like, yeah, well, in general, if I had to make a comparison, my product is faith. My product is the sacraments. My product is scriptures. And I have to influence young people how to get there. And then as I noticed, and I go in, and again, this is in the middle of COVID, so I'm already doing all these online things. We had started a podcast. If y'all follow Sainthood in the City, Sainthood in the City was born during COVID, right? And so I was in part of all these digital ministry initiatives. And when we started coming back on in person, this idea, as I kept thinking about influencer, I'm like, wait a minute, what is an influencer? An influencer is someone who guides the thoughts, opinions, and behaviors of others. As youth ministers, we're influencers for Christ. And I started thinking like, well, I have to identify what are the areas which I have influence. Now, online, of course, but also in the parish. So I started thinking, okay, who's already connected? And this is something that you guys can do. It's like, okay, usually when we start youth ministry, we think, okay, who's in our confirmation program? But then we start thinking, okay, well, we'll altar service. Okay, well, what about if you have Boy Scouts? Or what if you have a CYO program? All of these things are examples of who's already connected to you in these little circles, in these little areas where you have spheres of influence already with young people. I want to pause for a brief moment to let you know that this series was brought to you and it was produced by Kari Films. Kari Films is a Catholic media production company whose mission is to capture the beauty of the Catholic faith. They do this through capturing live events. They do this through podcasts, testimonials, music videos, and more. You can find out more about them in the description below. Now let's get back to it. I heard this idea a long time ago about the one-eared Mickey Mouse, right? So I want you to think of a circle, and that big circle is the parish. Now, the one ear off the side of the Mickey Mouse is typically how youth group looks in a lot of places. It's like kind of connected to parish. It's kind of doing its own thing. Now, the problem with this is that you need to bridge the gap between that youth group model and how youth get integrated into the life of the parish as a whole. So after you start identifying and start looking at all these things, you have to start going like, okay, how can I connect the dots? How can I make sure that CYO works with those that are in the confirmation and religious ed? How does religious ed connect, and how is we have a young adult group? How are they then serving and connected? Oh, how are we just making sure we draw the lines and dots and connect everybody so that we're one big family, one big community? Now, I remember at this time, I also working with Young Life. And we started to think about even more outside the walls of the church, right? Young Life is an ecumenical Christian organization. I love how, shouts out to Deacon Nathan puts it, that it is the largest youth faith organization outside of the Catholic Church. And so they have, ministries and outreach where they go into schools and they connect. And so I started thinking like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. There's actually some more spheres of influence, because I had some young adults that were part of our thing, and they worked at the public school down the street in the after school program. Oh, wait a minute. This is the park down the street where a lot of kids go hang out and play basketball. Oh, okay. This is where they go. Oh, that's where they do. Oh man, what if we can draw connections outside the walls and start making our presence known in all these areas? And as a result, what I noticed during that time is where everybody else was struggling, where a lot of places were either shutting down, closing, anything, we started to grow because we connected with young people in all these places and brought them to the table. You see, the goal has to be in our youth ministry programs that it's not just that we wait for the young people to show up, but we go and meet them where they already are at. And we build relationships from there. So I'm gonna give y'all some tips as y'all go from this. I want you to start mapping it out. Like actually draw it on a piece of paper. Draw the circle. This is your parish. Cool. Saint blah, 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 or Our Lady of blah, 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 whatever your parish is, right? And then start thinking, okay, what are the areas we have spheres of influence? Okay, who's connected? I remember we started a podcast with our teens, and there was a moment afterwards where I sat down and all of the main kids, I'm talking about these are the kids that were like they were kids that show up sometimes, but they were kids that were committed. And it was like, oh, I got connected to you because of the school. Oh, I got connected to you because of altar service. Oh, you were in the religious ed program and somebody referred you. And somehow it was one of these moments where I like, okay, we made it. So my goal for you is start thinking like, how can you identify key people in all these areas to start bridging the gap? Then I want you to start listing out, thinking about like, who are the adults you need to talk to? So for example, if there's a local Catholic school, are you connected to the school principal? Are y'all collaborating, working together? If they're not open to it, can you just start praying for them? I know working with Young Life, I heard this story of there was a school they wanted to connect with, and they wound up creating a basketball program later on. But at first, the school was completely closed off to them having interaction there. And what they would do is they would just show up and in front of the school, just pray. Is there an area where, as you identify, like, okay, maybe I don't have a connection with this particular area. Maybe the adult that's in charge here, they're being difficult and they don't want to connect the dots. Can you go pray? If they meet on Sunday afternoons, can you pray committed during that time? If there's a school, can you go outside there? If there's a CYL program and maybe the coach doesn't want to connect, maybe you write their name and you offer a rosary for them every day. Start thinking of practical ways of how you can engage on all these areas. You see, ministry isn't just about the kids that come to us. It's about the kids we go to. When we expand our spheres of influence, we can multiply our impact. So where are your current spheres of influence? Where do you see opportunities for expanding your reach? And I'm going to add this one because, like I started with, media, social media. How can you leverage digital platforms to build connection and community? I'll end with this. I remember there was a powerful moment where there was actually a young adult that started getting involved. They started coming back to Mass. Then they started helping out and serving, and they wanted to be a part of the leadership team. And when they were asked why, is they had saw what we were doing on social media, and they go, oh man, this makes me want to get back involved with my faith. And if I had time, I could give you some other statistics y'all can look up that parishes, churches, and this is an interdenominational study that says that churches that are doing good online are seeing growth across the board. So where's your current spheres? Where's some opportunities to grow? And how can you leverage digital platforms? There's the 5 M's of ministry, and this is what Catholic ministry, Catholic youth ministry looks like. I want to thank you guys for watching, and see you on the next one. Make sure you head over to bethesymbol.com. Y'all can sign up as I put together the book, the 5 M's of ministry. Get on that email list, and yeah, keep subscribing to this channel, and we'll get some more for y'all next week. God bless. Peace.